That might have been the stupidest race I've ever seen. It started out as just a normal Nashville race, and then it got good, and then it got dumb, and then it became a crime against humanity. What the hell was that? Welcome in, everybody. Welcome on in to the post-race show of the 2024 Ally 400, which should be renamed. How far did we go in this race? You know, this is what, 1 1/3 mile track? I'm sorry, I'm trying to process what the hell I just saw. So this should actually be called the Ally 441 because we went so damn far over. Oh my God, that was amazing in like every wrong way. So welcome in, Joey Logano, to the NASCAR playoffs. You are a winner. Welcome in, everybody, to this again. Let's talk about the race. Let's talk about the race, man. I think that was the NASCAR record. I think that was the at least the Cup record. By the way, click that like button, subscribe if you're new, all that. We're gonna go all sorts of out of the way to be, out of it in this one, just because this matches the race. It matches the race. The 2024 Ally 400 was 331 laps long. It had 20 lead changes with 9 leaders, 15 cautions. And get this, this race was 4 hours, 3 minutes, and 53 seconds long, not counting the rain delay. This race was longer than the Xfinity and truck races combined. And about a fourth of that was the last 31 laps. Wow. Absolute. Wow. I mean, how much can you really say on that end of it? Let's go into the results. We talked about it. Joey Logano got the win by 0.068 seconds over Zane Smith. Yeah, had Joey Logano just bobbled a little out of 4, Zane Smith wins this race. Tyler Reddick finished 3/1000ths of a second behind the 71, at least according to NASCAR scoring. Then he got Preece and Buescher 4th and 5th. Ryan Blaney comes home 6th. Bubba Wallace 7th. Kyle Larson 8th. Trust me, we will talk about Kyle Larson. You got Hemrick in 9th. Noah Gragson comes home with the top 10 on the day. AJ Allmendinger 11th. Denny Hamlin 12th. Somehow he managed to get back up through that scrum. Justin Haley, in what should have probably been a top 10, still comes home 13th, so we can keep gushing about Haley. Alex Bowman, 14th. And get this, Austin Cindric, who had crashed, looked like he was out. Done. This parrot is dead, it looked. 3 laps down at one point. Comes back for a 15th place finish. Top 15 run for Austin Cindric tonight. Tonight, I have to say, you got your night race, y'all. Or at least the last little bit of it. We went so damn long. Carson Hocevar, we'll talk about Hocevar as well, 16th. Todd Gilliland in 17th. You got Chase Elliott 18th, sliding through the tri-oval grass to end it off. Then you got Willie B coming home in the 19th spot. Corey LaJoie comes home in the 20th spot. After that, it is Chase Briscoe in 21st. And then Suarez in 22nd. Ty Gibbs 23rd. And last in the lead lap after getting taken out at the end, again, Martin Truex Jr. The only other one to finish in this race was Brad Keselowski, who was 4 laps down at one point, going into all the overtimes. Brad Keselowski finished a lap down in this race. If we had another caution, Brad Keselowski probably gets a top 20 after being 4 laps down and just ass packing the wall. After that, at least from what NASCAR put, 26th on down are all out of this race, which is, doing some quick counting here, 13. 13 cars. Josh Berry, 26th. Kyle Busch, 27th. Harrison Burton, 28th. Corey Heim, 29th. Ricky Stenhouse in 30th. 31st, John Hunter Nemechek. Austin Dillon, 32nd. Ross Chastain, 33rd. Eric Jones, 34th. Michael McDowell, 35th. Bell, 36th. That's for dominating most of the day. Riley Herbst, 37th. And Chad Fincham finishes last to no one's surprise. We will get to those super chats in a moment. I welcome in to everybody who's in here, by the way. We're quickly closing in on 1,000. Let's just speed run through the first two stages, because for the most part, it was just Bell out ahead. Let's be real. You're not here to talk about the first 3/4 of this race. You're here to talk about the last half of the stage, of the final stage. You know, that's what you're all here to. So we're going to go really quick through it. We got to talk about what did happen in this race to lead up to this absolute just atrocity. But my God, man. My God. And while I'm thinking of it so that I don't forget, because my God, my brain is all over the place with it. Let's put the post-race results up right now. I more than likely butchered one of your favorite drivers' last names. I'm looking through, just making sure that I got everyone somewhat right. I think I got everyone's names right. I was able to get, like I said, 13 of the 38 starters put on in before we even ended off. By the way, super chats and all that will be read at the end. I see Giga Chad Fincham in the chat. We're over 1,000, so click that like button, subscribe if you're new. I know some of you are new. And they're for those asking, has NBC interviewed Zane Smith? They are right now. But let's talk about this race here. Hamlin and Bell were the guys that led early. There were some green flag stops, and you had guys trying to stretch it like McDowell. You had Kyle Busch sliding through the pits. It looked like it was going to be another disaster class race for Kyle Busch. Luckily for him, it was not. And Bell would win the stage over Hamlin, Reddick, Larson, Brad Keselowski, Gibbs, Byron, Buescher, Truex, and Bubba. By the way, for all those wondering, we will read the playoff standings. Well, just give me time. We got to talk about this race first. Playoffs come second to this. I know it has big implications and all of that, but we got to talk about what happened here. The second stage was where it kind of got a little weird. You know, you had a couple restarts with like John Hunter Nemechek spinning off 4. You had Gibbs spinning off 4. Bell, of course, for the most part, because of taking, I believe, 2 tires after Hamlin had gotten the lead, staying out in front of it. We get a lightning delay basically right at halftime, lap 138, and then you get about, I believe it was an hour 20, hour 30 red flag. This is unfortunately when I had to leave just because I actually had to be on the road in 6 hours, 6.5 hours. So, yay me. From there, you got, again, we're racing to catch Bell. But with that, the only real stuff to talk about from that part, which we'll talk about more in a bit, because I want to get as quick as we can to the final stage, is we had contact with Larson and Hamlin. Larson standing up for himself at first. Larson at that point was still the good guy, I think, in a lot of people's eyes. Bell wins the stage over Reddick, Larson, Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Elliott, Truex, Blaney, Buescher, and Noah Gragson, who had top 10 speed today. And unfortunately, a lot of people might not have noticed because, let's be honest, I will not gloss over Logano winning. Trust me, we got plenty to talk about. The second half of this race is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the last 100 laps right here. I will not gloss over Joey Logano winning. I know, but we got to talk about this shit. It was nuts. Okay. While we go into this final stage, let's just do it right now. Rate this race out of 10. 10 being the 1992 Hooters 500. 0 or 1, whatever you want it to be, being the 2008 Brickyard. Come on, that's a pretty damn low bar. I don't think we got that low tonight. Let me know what you think. Pull, eliminate, overtime. I guess I'll tell you what. I'll ask this in the poll. Let's have a poll. Overtime preference. I'm not going to ask necessarily to eliminate overtime, because I think as much as I want them to go back to like a running to the distance or limited overtimes, I also don't want to take something that is clearly an outlier like this race is and use it here. So unlimited, 3 overtimes, 1 overtime, which is basically the old school green, white checker rule, or scheduled distance. Those are your options. What is your preference of overtime? As y'all spam them away. Spam what you thought of this race. I mean, I see people with 10, 9, 7s. I see people with 0s and 1s. So let me know what you want. I'm telling you, I think, though, after tonight, we at the very least, NASCAR has to keep it on the table to limit some of it, at least. I don't know, man. Tonight was ridiculous, and tonight should not happen. These should be the best guys in the world racing these cars, but that's just my opinion. We'll talk more about that in a moment. We gotta go chronologically. We gotta talk about this stuff. We get it restarted. Bell again looks like he is well on his way to victory, and this is where we start getting some of the cautions here. We got Riley Herbst, who gets taken out by Corey LaJoie. We get another one, but Eric Jones, another restart, but Eric Jones is in the wall right after Hamlin tries to take Bell and I believe Reddick 3 wide. Bell at this point also has voltage issues, so you're thinking, oh great, gateway PTSD for all of your 20 fans. From there, we get it restarted again. They're side by side up front again, the 45 and the 20, and you get side by side lap after lap before Elliott spins out of 4 into the grass with 82 to go. So he spun into the grass out of 4 twice. Everyone pits. There's a mix of tire strategy, and at this point, this is where it's set up for the craziness. This is where a lot of these leaders pit, and from there are setting up for their long fuel runs or just to the end. You got guys like Blaney who stay out. The 12 and the 16 restart up front. Blaney clears with 75 to go. This is also where C. Bell gets himself into an aero position, ends up wrecking. He just lost it, and you saw that a lot. A lot of people just lost it tonight, like Elliott, like Bell, very good drivers. I don't think all these guys are slouches either, so bear with me on that. Restarted again, 12 and 16. They're 4 and 5 wide in the back. Chastain, though, was charging up right behind the 12. It's a 12 and the 1 up front for a bit. Then Keselowski with 58 to go, kind of cleared himself, ends up ass packing it into the wall. And this, okay, we got to talk about this. This is the part I think cannot be glossed over, because I think a lot of people will after what we saw. Carson Hocevar wrecks Harrison Burton under yellow. And this is, I think, going to be really forgotten about because of all of the stuff we saw. And by the way, I think we're going to end the poll here because we've got another poll I think I want to put up. 39% of you still want unlimited overtimes. 3 overtimes goes to 36% of you. 13% say 1, and 12% say scheduled distance. Now at this point, I want to ask Hocevar's punishment for what happened. So he wrecked, and again, we did not see the full story. NBC needs to get that. We would rip on Fox if we didn't get the full story, even if it were different drivers. But basically, on the backstretch, just Hocevar kind of, I believe, right rear hooked. It's been so damn long, it's hard for me to remember. But right rear hooked the 21, spins him around, and I think that's unacceptable. I mean, and we talked about the same thing with Austin Hill. We've talked about it in a lesser degree with Bubba Wallace, with William Byron before, all to varying penalties, parking them, points. So I'm going to ask you on that. Some of them didn't get penalized, so I'm going to ask you, what should Hocevar's punishment should have been? Should have been no penalty, parked, or points penalty? All right, poll going up now. I'm going to say this. I think Hocevar should have been at least held a few laps. I think he should have. It might not have made a difference at the end based on the way the finish went, but in my opinion, he should have been punished in some way. Unless NBC didn't report it or I have very bad retention of information, I do not think, especially with the history has to play in with it as well. I do not think Carson Hocevar should have gotten away with that scot-free, and I do think that since they did not park him for a couple laps or for the race or whatever, I think it should be similar to what happened under caution with Austin Hill. It should be points and money. You can't do that. And Hocevar has a history of doing that. People aren't going to want to remember this because they hate Ty Gibbs, but he was, wrecking, not under caution, but wrecking Ty Gibbs, just doing these unnecessary things. And he does this every couple races, too. It's not like it's just this thing that is, a contained incident. Carson Hocevar, to me, is one of the most likable people in NASCAR outside of the car. He's very much, I think, like Joey Logano. A lot of people compared him to different drivers as well. I think he is most similar to Joey Logano. Carson Hocevar, one of the most likable people I've ever talked to in the garage, out of the car. In the car, though, dude can go anywhere. He is the Joker. I think, some are saying suspension. I think suspension, I think, is too harsh, not because of the action, but because NASCAR basically condoned it in this race. There needs to be a penalty for that, especially for very young drivers, rookies, and especially for drivers who have a history of doing stupid on-track incidents. Maybe not crashing people under yellow. That might not be what he did. Talking there, Byron spun Hamlin, got overturned. And we'll talk about that super chat when we read them at the end. But I think it's ridiculous that a driver can get away with that. And you know what? I completely understand being parked or suspending him for a race. I get it. Like, I don't, if this was a first time offense, I'd say, okay, first time, like points, parking for a couple laps. I don't think, parking somebody for a week after, if that's a first offense, is necessarily something, unless it's egregious. But, I mean, this is under caution. You got safety vehicles, not necessarily on the backstretch at that time, but just in general, you do not do that stuff on pit road and under yellow, because you could unintentionally collect people who are innocent in it all. But that's my rant on Hocevar. I think he should have been held at least 3 laps or parked for the night. Either way would have been fine for me. But for him to basically be in contention in one of the last restarts for the win, no, that should not have happened. So we get restarted again with 52 to go, and it's the 12 and the 1. They're side by side for a bit. We know that Blaney cannot make it to the end. We know that he cannot, but he's still going to race hard. Somehow, maybe they could have backed into a good strategy play. Ultimately never happened. Ross Chastain clears out of 4, and at that point, it's for the rest of the field to start catching up. And I think there were a couple guys we could look at who were either running really fast or charging. Kyle Busch managed to get up there through all of that, was running pretty good. Might not have been, we'll talk about the maintained speed thing as well. This race was a disaster. Trust me, we'll talk all about it. He was not able to maybe catch the 1, but he was running pretty well up there. Then you had Denny Hamlin, as we saw, charging up through the pack. Kyle Larson charging. Martin Truex Jr., Ty Gibbs even at one point. But with 15 to go, we're seeing this really good battle setting up. It's the battle of the ones, the 1 and the double 1, and the 11. He catches him with 15 to go from about 2.5 seconds back after Blaney pits. Clean air for the 11 helped him as well because of that, I think, or at least would have helped him had Blaney, been there. It probably wouldn't have been good. Whatever. I'm a glass case of emotion right now. And Ross starts aero blocking. I saw a lot of you guys in the chat being like, oh, great, it's just an aero blocking fest. Woohoo. Like, yay. We're just going to watch Ross just, slide all over the track to cut off Denny's air, and that's just going to be the finish. But with 8 to go, Ross is blocking from top to bottom. I mean, he was down all the way to the grass, then up to the wall. And with 7 to go, he gets loose. Denny Hamlin ends up scooting by, and it's looking like this is Denny's race. A lot of you guys, I saw y'all. You were praying, oh, please let there be a caution. I can't see a Denny win after all of this, and you got your freaking answer. You got your answer, because with 2 to go, we got Cindric around off the backstretch, contact with Noah Gragson. We're going to overtime. Yay. And before we go to overtime, let's end the poll, because 39% of you, I know not all of you, but I saw some of y'all in there. I saw a lot of people on Twitter, the Brain Rot website itself. 39% of you say that Hocevar should receive a points penalty. or that should just be the overall thing for him. 38% of you say park him, either this race or next, whatever it might be. 21% of you say he should get away innocently, no penalty at all. Interesting. And I'm seeing y'all, a lot of y'all are hating. At least some of you are admitting it. So spam overtime, OT. Spam OT in the chat as we go into OT, one of the many OTs. I had to admit I changed it from double, triple, whatever, because I didn't want to hit 6 and then be nuked by YouTube. Yeah, spam overtime because Lord knows the drivers did. So at this point, the 11, the oner up front, Larson ends up trying to make a move on the bottom. He scrapes the apron. God, this is how bad it is. It's been so damn long because of how much stuff happened that I just need to make sure that was the first overtime. But he hits the apron totally on Larson. I mean, that's just 100% Larson making a giant mistake there. He ends up getting pushed, because the car's not going to turn once it hits the apron like that. Pushes up the track right into the one car. One spins in front of the field. We get, a 15-car wreck at this point. Just absolutely crazy. And here's where we go. Another bit of controversy we got to talk about here. Kyle Busch slowed down, was barely involved in it, didn't get too awful much damage in comparison to a lot of guys in there. But Kyle Busch did not maintain speed. Was 27th or whatever it was. He was in the back. His race for the win was done. And then all of a sudden, he's up in 4th. Just magically, NASCAR just oh, buddy, it's okay. It's okay. We'll help you. Puts him up in 4th. Now, I'm not going to rip on Kyle Busch for this. He's the driver. He's doing what they say. He's been on both ends of this stick. But that was total BS. Absolute BS. He did not maintain his speed, as unfair as it is with the caution. That's how the rule has been forever. Kyle Busch should not have been 4th on the second overtime restart. He should not have been. And I want to say this too. I rip on Jeff Burton a lot. I've ripped on Steve Letarte a lot. But you know what? I ripped on him last week for really holding the NASCAR line. 180 on this one. Good on Steve Letarte and Jeff Burton for calling that BS out. For calling NASCAR out. We do not see that on broadcast. We don't see that in NASCAR media in general, and it pisses me off that we don't see the commentators and those who are representing the sport hold the sanctioning body accountable. And you know what? Good on Burton and good on Letarte being up in the booth and saying that it was wrong. Good on them. And you know what? I see Spencer saying Fox would never. No, Clint Boyer has. And I will defend Fox in this. They've done it. I think Fox this year actually has done it more in general than NBC would. Especially with Dale Jr. gone, because Jr. would be the one who would probably be calling that out the most if the other two weren't. No. Good on Burton. Good on Letarte. They deserve their praise on this one. One of the highlights for me of the overtimes. But we're not done. But wait, there's more. We get to overtime number 2. As man, that was kind of nasty. We got the 11, the 5 up front again. Of course, we got Kyle Busch in 4th. Hamlin gets away, and of course, there's another wreck. It's a big wreck on the backstretch. You got the 50, 71, the 4, 38, 21, 41, 47. A lot of people who more than likely, other than Barry, would not have been in any way influencing the race outside of crashing. The leaders at this point are they got to pit, right? They're running out of fuel. They've went almost 100 laps at this point without pitting for gas. Yeah, they have a lot of caution laps now. But, man, that's right. Good point. Before we go further, Eric Elston in the chat says the precedent was set in 2023 Darlington race. Bunch of people kept their positions. I hate that. They had a chance to, well, not that they had a chance to reset that precedent. They just, that was an outlier. But it's just NASCAR officiating, man. Just NASCAR officiating. But anyway, the leaders you think have to pit, they don't. They stay out. We're going again. Overtime number 3. And sorry, if you don't think I'm taking it seriously, it's hard to take that race seriously. That race went from mediocre to actually, it's pretty good. It's actually getting pretty good to, okay, it's a little crazy for my taste to completely awful. We get overtime number 3 here. It's the 11 to 5 out front. Not for long. Why? Because Kyle Larson runs out of fuel, and it ends with a Kyle Busch crash Guess the racing gods did not like NASCAR's call on that last one. At this point, Kyle Busch is out of the race. The 11 and 19 up front, first and second. They're like, you know what? They're starting to skip a bit on fuel. And it's clear they're going to run out. They finally have to concede. They have to pit, but Joey Logano stays out. Joey Logano stays out for overtime number 4. Him and Briscoe now on the front row. You got Elliott who runs out of fuel. We got a yellow, though, for Barry wrecking right before we get to the end, and we're going to overtime number 5. Y for yes and for no. Let me know in the chat. Is this the most overtimes we've had in a cup race? I know we've had Xfinity races that have gotten close to this, like that Daytona one in 2018, but let me know. Because I'm pretty sure it is, or at least matched it. I do not think we've ever reached 6. It's not? No, I'm asking, like, is it no? When have we reached more before? Because we got 5 in this race. We got 5. I don't want, like, your opinion. I want you to know. Okay, so Bob confirmed. Wait, Bob confirmed what? That it wasn't? And I'm not asking about the Busch crash in 2020. I want to know points races. I don't care about non-points races. I think those are, hold on. I'll double check. Bob, we're going to check with Bob on this one. Why? Because Bob is the authority on this, I bet. And because some of you said that he said that. Let's see where we got. Yes, it is. Okay, so Bob did say it's the most attempts in Cup history. Here we go. We had history today. Remember where you were on this day. I say that after the really good historic moments, like the Hail Melon and like the Kansas finish this year and the Atlanta finish. Let's say it after this one. All right. Yep. Remember where you were today. The many places you could have been, as this was like the 6 or 7 hours of Nashville, Crashville. So we get to overtime number 5. It's the 22 and the 14. Logano ends up clearing Briscoe, and it's, I believe, Briscoe, Zane Smith, a bunch of other slackies. But it's Tyler Reddick who comes out of the pack in second, coming to the white flag on the last lap. The 45 is there. He is going to press the 22. Any fuel that he might have even thought of saving, not going to happen. And he ends up running right to the back bumper of him, tries to go up high. Logano goes up to block. At that point, the 71 is down low, so any move that Reddick could have possibly attempted to go low, he can't. Joey Logano ends up winning this race, a race that we will never forget, and locks himself into the playoffs. And I will say this. I know a lot of people are going to be upset. I know we're going to use the funny joke of all of that for a Joey Logano win. And you know what? I think you're all kind of right. But to Joey Logano's credit, it does take a good amount of talent to save that much fuel over that much time. And Joey Logano he's been getting better and better. The team is coming together more. And the championship race is at Phoenix. The race before that's at Martinsville. Penske is real good on those short, flat ovals. I don't think it's going too far to say that if Joey Logano ends up making it to the round of 8, he could easily win the championship. It's an even year. Noah Coleman said in there, it's an even year. Joey Logano very well could win the championship. And before you say, no, he's been sucking this year. Come on, man. It's a system. Like, look at Ryan Blaney's overall season before. The playoffs, the way the schedule is lined up at the very end, as long as Joey Logano could easily win a Talladega race, make his way into the round of 8, and run well enough, or even win at Martinsville. Plus, he's pretty good at Vegas. Just saying, do not count that 22 team out until the year is done. It's an even year. It's just a weird year, man. 2024 is a weird-ass year, both NASCAR and everything else alike. Like, if you have not watched the last 4 days of racing and everything else in the world and not thought, man, this is just a weird-ass timeline. I'm in the Bizarro timeline. Then I don't know at this point. It's been crazy, man. This whole year has been real crazy. And all of this, too, NASCAR got pushed to USA Network. And the difference between the NBC portion and the USA portion is amazing. The USA portion was absolute insanity. It was, it's like just completely cracked out. And then the NBC portion was like the smooth SpongeBob meme, But man, again, for those who are coming in, as we've had between 1,500-1,600 watching for the last 10 minutes or so, points wise, Martin Truex Jr. plus 143 on the cut line, Ty Gibbs plus 70 on the cut line, Chastain now plus 66 in 14th, Buescher plus 56 in 15th, Alex Bowman plus 51 in the 16th spot. 15th, of course, like I said, Buescher. 17th, 51 points out, Bubba Wallace. Chase Briscoe is now 78 points out in the 18th position. Kyle Busch, 104 points out as we run now, 19th on the grid. Josh Berry minus 131. I'm just going to say it now. Busch and Berry, it's, anything you thought of Berry, don't even think it now. He's got to win. Anything you think of Kyle Busch, we got 7 races left. 7 races left. To put this in perspective, if Kyle Busch were to point his way in somehow, he would have to make up, where's it at? 15 points a race on Alex Bowman. Not happening. I'd even say stick a fork in Briscoe at this point. He's got to win. Bubba Wallace, I'd say 2. Basically, at this point, the points battle, we can talk about it. You just got to win at this point. There's no other way to look at it. And the only way the points battle gets close is, one, if Bowman, Buescher, Chastain, or Gibbs have an historic collapse in the last 7 races, and Bubba, Briscoe, and Busch run extremely well, or at least way better than they have been consistently. Or if we get a new winner, that is a very close cut line from 13th to 16th right now. I mean, if I'll look at it like this. Next week's a Chicago street race. Let's say, I don't know, let's just say like Austin Cindric, who's been pretty good at road courses, at least in the Xfinity Series. Let's say Austin Cindric wins next week's race. Well, no, he's already won. Never mind. This is a weird-ass year. Austin Cindric already won. Let's say, I don't know, Preece for the hell of it, or Justin Haley. There we go. McDowell. Yes, McDowell. This is the one part about being so far behind is like I'll correct myself and you guys will be like, no, you Darth, he already won. So like McDowell, like if McDowell wins next week, the cut line then becomes the 15th and 16th place guys right now, which would mean Buescher, it would be +5 over Bowman at the moment, +15 for Chastain, +19 for Ty Gibbs. It'd still be plus, I believe, 92 or 82 for Truex. So not the greatest lead, but pretty safe overall. That's the only way that points-wise you really need to care about points, is if there's a new winner that's below Alex Bowman in points. Other than that, it's all wins now, which kind of takes a lot of the drama out of it, to say the least. But I won't say completely old school fan, but I'm an older school fan who likes points racing a little bit. Like I don't like it like everything, like, oh, I'll give up my chance to win to finish 10th points racing, but the points racing does have its place in NASCAR, and unfortunately that's been kind of kicked to the curb. By the way, click that like button. Let's see how many likes we can get. Let's just go freaking wild with it. I promised those of you who left the super chats we'd give you your segment. Let's do it right now. Garabuki left this $5 super chat, I believe during the 3rd or 4th overtime, saying, thanks a lot for summoning this horrific ending with your petty attempt at hitting Hamlin, Larson. Yeah. I don't know if he meant to like go after and hit Hamlin, but just that was a terrible, terrible restart, man. Blake for the 2 says, limit green white checkers to 3, just my opinion. I'd take anything at this point, but that's also me. I know I'm much more different than the new school NASCAR fans from the last 7-8 years. Alex for the 5. As much as I'm a Logano fan, that was the ultimate golden horseshoe win. Yeah, I'm a big junior fan. We didn't get many golden horseshoe wins as junior fans, but like that 2014 win at Pocono, I knew that Junior wasn't the best guy out there. That first one. Like, I knew he wasn't the greatest. I knew Brad should have won that race. I didn't care, though. Like, if I'm a fan of Logano, if you're a Logano fan, do not apologize at all. M. Martin fan for life for the 2 with just one word here. Drama. Hey, we're going back to TNT next year. They know drama. Twin spinner for the 2. Imagine Logano DQ. Zane Smith win after that. That would be freaking wild. SW says, I'm flabbergasted. Like, how, what, and why? Just why? I'm with you on that one, too. Garrett Boogie for another 5. If Logano gets DQ'd and Zane wins, I'll donate $200 during NWP. Well, NWP is on Eric's channel on Tuesday. Y'all only got 2 days to listen to me, Eric, and Danny B talk about on NWP about this. Be sure to tune in because that's going to be absolutely wild. Anything else you got on to watch that night, DVR it, watch it over on YouTube, whatever it might be, you got to watch because I can't wait to talk to those guys about this after my big turnaround. After in 6 hours, I'm going to be on the road going up north. Tuesday, NWP, Eric Esep's channel, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Be there. Twin Spinner for the 2. One of the races of all time. I'll tell you what, man. Whether you loved it or like many of you hated it, you're going to remember it. Toledo Knoll for the 5. SHR fan happy with 2 drivers in the top 10. Still unsure who to root for next year, though. Could go with the Haas factory team. You could go with wherever they go. Maybe the Childers Berry pairing. There's options. Yes, Tuesday this week. We had to change it. Just all 3 of our schedules could not line up for a Wednesday show. It's a very rare time. This year has just been weird, but this is a very rare time where all 3 of us just could not line up on that. Jake for the 10. I wouldn't complain if more races ended like this. This is what I live for. Can't wait for SVG to sweep next weekend. The third sentence you put, I can say I think could be very true. I can't do this all the time. I barely can do this once, let alone all the time. But you know what? To each their own. I Lobo Gaming for the 2. It should be called the Are You Crazy with Fuel 441. Sounds like a road course race. I remember like the Cheese at 355 at the Glen. Serious at the Glen. Bobby Blair, thank you for the 2. All that for a Logano win. I know a lot of people are saying that. Trust me. Red Dog for the 5. NASCAR officials, we'll give you a break, Kyle Busch. NASCAR gods, nuh-uh. What else can you say? It just isn't his year at all. No, it is not. It was funny. I actually thought when he got out, and I didn't, because they don't show the safety truck on screen when the driver gets out of the car. I actually thought when he was getting out of the car, walking up towards the fence, I thought he was going to flip off the crowd back, which I would have actually really respected. Toast for the 5. Even when Busch gets a fast car, someone always screws him over. I don't even know what to say anymore. Hey, I'm just gonna say this, and I'm not saying to rub it in. I'm just saying it as a fact. You know what Dale Jr. fans went through those years, and I know not all Kyle Busch fans made fun of Junior fans, but I'll tell you what, they were the loudest. So I can't, in that respect, I can't feel too bad as like a lot of drivers have went through this, but I have to admit it, like I know what it's like, man, and I do not envy your position as a fan right now. I hope next year's better. I hope he gets out of RCR. I'll say that. I think a good Kyle Busch is good for NASCAR. Rocks reviews and reactions for the 2. Truex was gonna win. Why pit? Now he's wrecked. He was already starting to skip on fuel a bit, so I don't think he was going to win. I think the Toyotas are running out. Ross Crash Stain, thank you for the 8-month member chat. Greatest driver ever, gonna unite the 11-1 fans. Yeah, this was not one of the highlight reels to put on for Kyle Larson's greatest driver ever tour, if you were to have that. Paradox for the 5. Don't discredit Logano's fuel saving because you don't like him. He was on pure fumes. Paul Wolf is a wizard. Okay, so I was not discrediting him, and I think I gave him his flowers. And I'll say Paul Wolf, man, I mean, he is the gutsiest crew chief, I think, in the garage. I mean, if you watched back when Brad Keselowski was in the Blue Deuce in 2011, 2012, some of the strategies he'd pull were just insane. And now you pair him with a driver like Joey Logano, whew. If they need to pull some strategies, say at like Kansas or at Las Vegas or Homestead this year, 1.5 miles that can be a fuel mileage race, the 22 team should be the favorite. Let's see. Any chance we get Chicagoland next year? I see in the chat. Sorry. I'm like a moth to the flame on this one. No, I don't think Chicagoland next year, unless the street course is very early, shot down very early by the city. I don't see it, just because I think that the track needs about a year, maybe 8 months or so to get cleaned up. It's in very good condition. I know that. I've seen that. It's in very good condition. You know, you got the motocross race that was held there last year. But Chicagoland, I don't think is next year. 2026, I think is a very realistic shot. Because I don't see the street race lasting past next year unless it's like a smash hit, attendance, ratings, money, everything for the city. Bobby Blair for the 5. Hardy's pre-race command today was the best of the season. Yeah, it was pretty damn good. Marky Mark for the 2. Once again, press F to pay respects for Kyle Busch. I feel like we've been doing that all season, man. Michael Kelly Gilliam for the 5. Blaney P6 after pitting under green and going a lap down. It was just one of those races. No matter what way you cut it. Twin Spinner for the 2. This race is simultaneously a 10 out of 10 and a negative 10 out of 10. That reminds me, I will at least I won't say the exact numbers, but I'll at least give you the net positivity and net negativity at the moment for the poll, but at the end of this. So stay tuned on that one. Joe O for the 10. Gotta love Larson wrecking the fave to win. Who deserves it? Who deserves it? And the guy who needed it most out of the field. Might be a biased as a Ross fan, but it is irritating to see him and Busch get executed by the 5. Yeah, it was rough at the end. I'll just say that. That will be my statement on that. Austin Blanchett for the 2. This race should have started at 6 local time. I agree, though I would not have been able to see even any of it. I was at the first stage and a half, but unfortunately, because I have to go up north and because it's a very long trip, I'm leaving early, and there was plenty of rain on the way, and I've lived in Tennessee now long enough to know how that works. I knew I wasn't going to be able to stay, and man, if I would have stayed, I probably would be leaving at 10 p.m. and still have all the stuff I have to do after an hour drive home or so. There's just no way I would have been able to stay for that. But I do think it should have started at 6. I'll say this. The reason, obviously, as we found out at the end, was because of the Olympics. This race will more than likely be on Prime next year or TNT. There is not really any conflict of interest, at least at this time, that either of them have. Prime, they can go as long as they want. So I am fully confident, especially with this race probably getting moved back a week next year because of Atlanta being this week next season. This will probably be a night race next year. Probably a Sunday night race at that. So I agree. 6 local time, I would have been A-okay with. Bake the Snake for the 5. Ally 400, more like Shenanigans 450, presented by Overtime. You're not wrong. Not wrong at all. NASCAR Fanatic 2425 saying tried voting scheduled distance, but poll wouldn't let me. I'm sorry. I don't know why that happened. But you're on my team with that one. So I at least super chat wise that you let me know, and I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat. It's hard, man. It's hard watching 1,300 people, 1,200 people, 1,600 people at a time. GN NASCAR fan for the 5. Other thing that will be overlooked. Kyle Busch should not have been 4th after the Chastain wreck. Racing God stepped in to correct that, thankfully. I agree. But I think we covered that, though. So, all good. Gary Bookie for the 5. Remember when Byron spun Hamlin under caution and the appeals panel overturned it? Good times. Yeah, I brought that up as well. Video game sports for the 5. I hate Logano so much. I was rooting so hard for Zane at the end. Joey needs to hurry up and retire already. Can't believe he's in the playoffs again. Well, I think he was going to make it regardless. But I love the back and forth of race fans. Jonathan, thank you for the 5-month member chat. Stacking pennies, more like stacking enemies. Yeah. Anytime Corey LaJoy gets at the front, you know something dumb's probably going to happen. Reverend Rasheem Hall Stewart for the 2. Championship 4, Bell, Larson, Hamlin, and Elliott. That'd be a very solid championship 4 that I would probably pick Bell on. Isaac the Jedi for the 5. How fitting a crime against humanity race would have a crime against humanity winner. Damn, y'all hate Logano. Cindric and Suarez are more worthy of the playoffs than Logano. I disagree. 100% disagree. You can hate Logano, but he's been way better than both of them this year. Maybe not championship worthy. I will agree with you on that, but much more worthy. Dan Miller for the 2. Inspect Logano's fuel tank. They're gonna inspect everything. SW for the 2. NASCAR giving Busch positions back is just, Yeah, I think that was NASCAR trying to manufacture some like playoff drama early, and it backfired entirely. Because if they didn't, he would probably have pitted and probably would have had a better finish unless he was collected another person's wreck, which is entirely possible in this race. Garibuki for the 2. Elliott also got to pass a bunch after he spun. Yeah, that one I didn't catch, but I wouldn't be surprised. NASCAR officiating is about as consistent as, well, many NASCAR drivers like Logano this year, or Kyle Busch, or Chase Briscoe, Josh Berry, you name it. I see Toby Keith in the chat. Justice for my goat, Harrison Burton. Yeah, trust me, I might not read them all out loud, but if you tag me, I'm more likely to see it because it gives me this nice bright orange highlight over my name when you tag me. It will draw my eye. Twin spinner for the 2. 2024. But wait, there's more. 400 at Nashville. Sheet Botto 5 for the 2. Let's see. F1 and NASCAR both having circus type finishes. I didn't watch F1, but I'll take your word for it. Snow Trooper for the 2. No comment, but first super chat on here. Toby Keith's not happy with me saying that. I had good one, Spencer. Bryce, thank you for the 5. Larson tries to get at Hamlin. Chat, why is Larson racing Hamlin so hard? Has no one watched the past couple of years? No, I agree. He should race him hard. And I think he did during the race, especially at the end of, I believe, stage 1. I believe it was. It's been almost an hour since I read that part. Yeah. But I think going on the apron is a big mistake. I don't think he was going after Hamlin on that one. I think he was trying to get underneath him, and it just didn't happen. And it was just a bad move. I saw a lot of Larson fans saying that too. Oh, good point by Ryan Fernandez here. Logano also ran 110 laps on those left side tires. Damn, they lasted. Good commercial for Goodyear. Rocks reviews and reactions here for the 2. Even with MTJ pitting, he passed the 11 for 12th, but yeah, just not good luck in his swan song season. Closing in on the end of the super chats here, and then is there one more thing I was supposed to say? I don't know, man. There's been so much shit that's happening today. Storm Lee Kelly for the 2. So, was this a good race though, in your opinion? Oh yeah, that's right. I got to read the positive and negative of the poll. You reminded me. Thank you. No. I'm sorry. The ending. Usually the finish can't ruin it, but when the finish is like 40 laps of what's supposed to be a 300 lap race turned into a 331 lap race, I think that cuts into it more. Plus the first 2 stages I think were kind of mediocre at best. I think that those 80 good laps don't outweigh the rest of it. I don't think this is a good race. I personally would probably give it, I'll give it a 4 out of 10 at best. Maybe if I'm feeling harsh later, I'll give it a 3 out of 10. I mean, it's just the ending of that race was just abysmal, man. You saved it at the pump, yeah. Are you looking forward to Chicago? Nah, take it or leave it. I'm curious to see how it'll be without a complete monsoon. Steve-O for the 10. Should the crew chiefs who know they are not going to make it that stay out be penalized? I think it's more egregious to restart in front of the field with no fuel than loose lug nuts. No, that's a strategy play that crew chiefs have used forever. I think when you start penalizing strategy moves to that degree, you open up a really bad can of worms. Like at that point, with no tack, with no way of telling, how do you govern that? Is it just NASCAR saying, well, you've went X amount of laps over the fuel window? That can't happen. Like that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I get the idea with it. I mean, I guess if they run out of fuel, do you penalize them? I think the running out of fuel is the penalty enough, though. That's just stacking penalties. New podcast name, maybe. So I'm gonna say no on that. I don't like trying to open that kind of can up, even if it's just penalizing them after they run out, just because they've been penalized enough. Had we not had 5 overtimes, Kyle Larson's not getting up into the top 10. Denny Hamlin's not getting in the top 12. Truex isn't running there. Like, if they all run out of gas and go to the back and don't have a couple more overtimes, which is not the norm. 5 overtimes is not the norm. I don't think we see that. So I don't say so now, unless it becomes a true problem every week, which we don't usually have fuel mileage finishes. I don't see a reason to do that. M. Martin Fan for Life here for another here. Imagine this race called by Fox. All those overtimes, and we wouldn't have seen why. There will be a new winner before the cutoff. I think so. Fred Dog for another 2 here. Nashville Hot Chicken, a.k.a. Kyle Larson. You guys are creative. I like it. Then I think last one here, unless there's another one that comes up, like that NWP where you guys just kept me forever at the end. Jacob for the 10. What if, after the Blaney Gateway stuff, Penske did some trickery with the fuel tank line and lines, going a third of the race on 1 tank of fuel in Cup is mostly unheard of, even with a lot of caution laps. Well, I think what you got to look at too is that, in that race, we had 15 cautions, and a majority of them happened towards the end, which means, let's see, 1, 2, let's see, let's just do in that fuel run, actually, the more I think about it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you had 8 cautions, and the fuel strategy, like the fuel window was, I think it was like 70 to 80 laps. So say you already, like the Fords tend to seem to have good fuel mileage already, and then you stretch it, and then you have them saving a ton, and they know they have to save for the majority of those. I can see that happening. I mean, because again, like let's just say those 8 or so cautions. Let's even just be rough estimate and just say 7, just to be safe. Let's say those 7 cautions all lasted, I don't know, I'd say most of them actually last pretty long. Let's just say 5 laps. That's 35 laps. We'll round up to 36 just to be easy with the even number. That's 18 laps saved based on the equation of cutting it in half. So you got 18 laps already added. So that's 98. And that's, if they save more or have good fuel mileage, it's not unheard of. And he did run out as soon as he finished that, burn out all that. So, and what's up, Tyler? After Blaney at Gateway, Penske made sure it wouldn't happen again. Yeah. I don't doubt that they mess with some stuff. And if they get caught, they get caught. And I'll fully admit that as the sirens roll past. But I think you also got to credit, I know if people hate Joey Logano, you got to credit Joey Logano with some pretty damn good fuel saving skills. Man, there's a lot of sirens. The end of that race killed people, man. And also we got the poll in the community tab as we end off here. Wow. I was not expecting that, y'all. 78% net positive at the moment to 11% net negative. Damn. That's shocking to me. That is shocking. All right. I think that's gonna cover it. I want to also thank you guys for the peak we hit tonight. This was the most watched stream on the channel ever. So thank you for coming on in. Thank you. I appreciate it a ton. And we will be streaming on Eric's channel, Eric Estep's channel, this Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So actually, at this time in 48 hours, we'll be at the end of the podcast already. So be sure to come on out. Can't wait to see you there. And Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about that. There's bound to be some silly season news, so come on out. Subscribe if you're new. We do this after every race, not just the bad ones, the good ones too. The truck races, the Xfinity races, the Cup races, you name them. So come on out. Can't wait to see more of you out here. I know there's a lot of new ones who have come in. Have a good night, and I will catch you on Tuesday. Later, y'all.